So I'm going to close my eyes and go in. So if each of you could just bring your awareness and attention into your heart. And just feel the expanse in and around your heart. And really feel the depth of the heart, or the center, the core of your being. And in that expanse, connect with Spirit. And be receptive to all that Spirit has for you. So I give thanks to Spirit and all Spirit guides who are here. I give thanks to the love and the light and ask for the protection of the golden light. So just feel gold light all around and within your being, and feel its protection, its generosity. And open and be receptive to that generosity. I ask that my words are guided, that only that wisdom or information for these beings' highest good be brought forth, that it be brought forth clearly and easily. We ask for the truth in its whole and pure form. Anything not in agreement with this, anything that would obscure or obstruct this, we ask be removed. And we ask to be transformed by the light. So they're saying that the energy is very expanded this evening. It is not just this evening, but this evening is this moment. So it is very expanded in this moment, and this expansion, it will continue and continue to grow for, well, we would say for eternity. But in your lifespan, we would say it will continue to grow in your lifespan. And how this expanded energy will work with you is to expand your mind out of its familiar concepts, out of its familiar patterns of thinking, out of its the kind of the simple beliefs that may have been manifested from your earlier years of development, kind of what you were told to believe, not just told to believe about this world, told to believe about yourself. For what we are here to remind you of is that you are so beyond the concepts that define the self. Your self is unlimited. And we would like to repeat this because we would like this to really register in your mind stream, in the core of your being, to understand the unlimitedness of your being. It does not have to be contained by these concepts that are limited. And many of the concepts that were chosen to be bought into or believed in come from a contracted view, not an expansive view. So what we like to explain about that is, so fear, as you know, has a contracted response. When you feel fear, even your body feels contracted. You know, people actually even kind of get small. And expanded, energy, your heart feels expanded, your body even feels expanded. Your field of frequency expands out. So the result of fear is the opposite of love. So love is just an energy. Love is just an energy that has maintained its pure form. It's never gone through a distortion. It is never strayed from truth. There's no falseness in it. And so you can look at and display your concepts of yourself and the concepts of how you view your world, and look and see actually what of that is still true. So say as a child you were raised up to, often in very dualistic ways. You're a good boy, you're a bad boy. You're really bright, well, you're really stupid. Well, the truth is, none of those things really contain your essence. well, for one, we would say there's your essence, which is brilliant, is the same essence of all that is. Because how can all that is be all if it excludes humankind? So if all that is considered spirit, or some people like to say God, then if God is all that is, it does not exclude mankind. It does not exclude earth. It does not exclude nature. It does not exclude the air that permeates around your being. Consciousness is everywhere. Our consciousness, unfortunately, at times starts to contract, and it becomes limited, and it even becomes more limited. And they use the word narcissistic. Well, mankind became very narcissistic in the sense that they kind of started believing their story. This is my life, this is my body, this is who I am. They could have excluded the I am was accurate, but the conceptualizing it down to a human body was inaccurate. They were not this human body before they took birth. They will not be the human body once they leave the body and leave the physical form. But their existence happened before incarnation and will happen after incarnation and will happen after the next incarnation and the next. So if God is eternal, then you are eternal. If God is omnipotent, then you are omnipotent. If spirit is all these things that we would like to, is all present, then we are part of that presence. And unfortunately, this kind of confusion set in, and the distortion of truth set in. And people started believing it, and they started believing the lie or the dream or the illusion. And so what we're saying is happening now on the planet is that this illusion is lifting. The veil is being lifted. The ignorance is being clarified as ignorant so that the truth can re-establish itself. And we say establish itself, the truth has never, doesn't go into non-existence. It may just be misinterpreted or a confused aspect of it. You might just see a very small aspect of it and not the whole aspect of it. So it's a very limited view. So what is happening in some way is the light that is illuminating within each being, and the light that illuminates in the external realm, from the sun on, is actually, the frequency of it is actually heightening. And so what it's allowing is that one's own illuminate light is going through a heightening process. And it is being magnetized by the light energy and frequencies that are happening on the external. And we're going to talk internal and external only because this is how mankind views things. In our realm, it is not so. We don't live in dualism the way earth beings mostly live in dualism. But for the matter of understanding, the internal light that's emanating is also matching the external light that's emanating, and the frequencies are heightening. And what that's allowing mankind to do is to see more clearly. It's almost like now everyone's kind of being given binoculars to look through, so they can see, or magnifying glasses to look through. So how they may have viewed themselves before, they may start viewing themselves a little differently. But on also one hand, the things that were built on the false identities, on the illusion, is starting to reveal itself so that it can be seen as kind of like, oh, that was actually the dream state. I'm actually awakening. I realize, it's how one awakens from a dream. And the dream seems so real. You're in it, you're experiencing it, it's as real, it is real, it is your experience at that time. But then you awaken, and there might be that midpoint where you're like, was I dreaming, am I awake? And all of a sudden you wake, and oh, it was a dream. So all that activity in that dream state all of a sudden dissipates, and it's no longer real. It is considered a dream. So this life that seems so real, our problem seems so real, that my identity of myself seems so real, actually is dreamlike. And so one's able to see, well, actually, I'm not all those concepts that I was told I was as a child and mirrored as I was a growing adult. That you are such a beautiful person, or you're such an ugly person, or you're such a fantastic person, or you're just, a worthless person. I'm none of those. I don't fall in the dualistic, realm of good or bad. I am this essence of divinity that is eternal. I am this essence of divinity that does not have a beginning or an end. This life, this body might have a beginning or an end. But as we know, this life does not start nor finish here. There are literally scientists who are having near-death experiences who are coming back and saying, well, actually, what we didn't believe that there was a life after death, we've now experienced. And the brain was actually dead. So it wasn't a function of the brain because the brain wasn't able to conjure this up. It was dead. It was a real experience. So, there are now even those who were in disbelief are saying, well, actually, we were wrong. So their illuminating light is actually giving them a different experience, that dreamlike state that I experienced, those beliefs that I actually experienced were, they were like childlike beliefs. The way a child might believe in tooth fairies and Santa Clauses. Well, now they believe in politicians and, the ego-based self, and, I define myself as this worker person that I am, or however they're defining themselves, is actually not that any way that you could define yourself outside of the definition of divine and eternal is an actual false conception. It was built from a place of confusion. It was built from a place of forgetfulness, where mankind actually was almost trained or kind of taught to believe of something that was not built on the truth. And truth cannot be challenged. I mean, one can challenge it conceptually, but truth is, just like the way spirit is, just the way your essence is. And there's no destroying of your essence. The body can be destroyed because the body is just a vehicle for your spirit. It is that temple of your spirit. But there's nothing that can be done to the body that then destroys the spirit. That is impossible. And so if this is the case, if we are awakening from the delusion, if we're awakening from the deep sleep, from these false identities, then what will life be if I experience myself as all that is? Experiencing myself in all these other beings as all that is. Not seeing myself as separate, seeing myself as this huge universal play of isness. Well, for one, if I know that I am you and you are I think as the Beatles had some line around this, then would I harm myself? Would I degrade myself? Would I judge myself? Would I criticize myself? Would I try to keep myself down? No, I would experience all my uniqueness through the many facets of how it's showing up. And I would experience my uniqueness in all the facets that it's able to shine and be inhabited through me. So it's no longer an us and them. It is a kind of a universal we. And the we can be dropped into the universal, I am, or isness, or spirit. That we are all coexisting as. So that the understanding of if spirit is all that is, there's a resonant truth with that. And I get to experience my aspect of that through this unique body, through this unique view, and explore that. And we would say you have really an eternity to explore it. So, have fun along the way. In fact, if there's anybody who's not having fun and is overjoyed with their life, something's a little off. We would just have to say that to start. Life was meant to be, full of bliss and joy and peace and contentment and curiosity and exploration and creativity. And so to look at, because, many might say, well, it's not my experience. I am miserable now. Well, we would say the very simple line to cut to the chase is you're miserable because you bought into the lie. You're not seeing yourself as a divine being that you are. And you're buying into the story that you've made up in your head of like, oh, and then this, and then that happened, and then these things happened, and now I'm just so sad about all of it. Well, they're saying, okay, well, that was a choice. Those things had happened. But you have this moment now as a co-creator of the universe to choose how you want to choose to create your universe. And if you want to include joy and peace and all the things that you ascribe for, then do that. And start by knowing that you have the power to do that. So many beings just feel so powerless in their life. How could one feel joy if they feel so powerless? But they're feeling powerless because, again, they've bought into that they are not all-powerful. And we're not saying the all-powerful like, so tomorrow I'm going to go create 10 universes. We're saying that we are part of that which is creating all universes. We are part of that universal energy. I don't prescribe that we will all have our own little God kingdoms. But as a aspect of that, of spirit, where what can you create in your life with what you have available to you now? Well, for one, we would say, please include peace as one of those. An easy way to create peace is to see how where you're warring with yourself, where you're at odds with yourself, and make peace there. So typically, when someone's at warring at oneself, they're in conflict with the truth. Because again, if the truth is energy in its non-distorted form, then if you were all inhabiting truth, there would be no disharmony. So one can start looking, okay, is there a way that I'm seeing myself that is off? And we can say it's off by if it has any view that's other than I am divine. And I'm pure and I'm acceptable just as I am in this current growth spurt that I'm in this current evolutionary aspect of my personal path. And we would advise a personal inventory of all thoughts that come through your mind. And if any of them just are not in these agreements, just see them as that. Oh, that's part of the false paradigm that's actually coming to a close. And so, oh, never mind. I'm not going to pay attention there. Because the truth is I am divine and I can create joy. And I am creating joy in my life. And these are how I want to create joy. And I'm very excited about going over here and moving this and doing that. And soon enough, you're bubbling over with excitement because your life is just so extraordinary. Because you created it to be that way. And you feel the power of that essence. You feel the power to be able to, say, well, I have a mind and I can move across this direction and do these things. But then, the question arises, well, yeah, but what if somebody halts me? When it says, I want to go create my little teepee here and I want to create this land and I want to, have a little organic garden and won't that be so fun? But someone says, well, but this is my property. You can't stay here. In fact, we're calling the police and we're going to put your ass in jail. So it's not that there's not external, you do not have to work with the external world, but we will tell you if you work with the internal world and create harmony there, it will start automatically harmonizing outside. Then this person's going to say, oh, you can have that little piece of land. That's all you need, no problem. In fact, if you need more, there's some over here too. In fact, I can help you. I've always wanted a garden grown here. Can I help you? Can I bring some wood your way? It can offset the negative belief systems, and all of a sudden you're creating very positive situations for yourself just by turning the switch from here to there. And we were saying it is that easy. So if it is that easy, make it an easy journey for yourself. Make it a delightful journey for yourself. And we would say at this time, there is more power and energy on this planet to assist you through this process, more so than you've seen in this lifetime, at least. And this energy, it's almost like you each have your own General Electric company working for you. But some do not realize that they're their own CEO of their own General Electric company, right? So because they don't realize it, they just don't, they realize that they don't own all the stock, they just don't use it. There's others saying, I'm the CEO and I own all the stock. Well, guess what I want to do with it? And then they're able to manifest it in the multitude ways that they want. So what we're saying in that description is that there's much more available to each of you than any of you are even capable of using at any given moment. There's, so here's this huge universe. The mind and telescopes cannot even imagine how vast the universe is. The multiverse, I guess, is the new coined word for it. So that's all energy. And that's all creation, right? So all that created that is available to you every given moment of every second of your life. Will be and will always be through eternity. It is the Spirit's generosity will never be denied anyone, ever. This, we would say, is a capital T truth. So if that is the case, then if you're your own CEO of your own electric company, how do you want to use it? For one, you got to start talking to your team. You've got all these workers on you, and they're just like, they want to really make the boss feel special. They want to get the good brownies in with the boss. So they're just eager to assist you in your manifestation. So you can say, oh, Spirit and Spirit guides who are so vast and generous, I'm so curious and interested in creating this dream for myself. What can you do to assist me in co-creating this thing? Half the times they're saying, get out of the way, we'll just do it for you. In the sense of what needs to get out of the way is the limited thoughts of all the, well, that can't happen, well, and that can't happen. Well, that's asking too much. Well, I may not be worthy of that kind of experience, that wonderful of a mate in my life, that big of a house. So because there's all this kind of ramble of like all the things that it can't be, well, guess what you're creating? Just that. So if you kind of get out of the way and say, well, there's unlimited possibilities. Here's my little dream. It's just a tiny little dream. It might, I might be dreaming too small. So assist me in, creating this dream and maybe expanding me so that I can see there might be something bigger at hand to bring forth. And then I get to just be kind of the watcher and dancer and viewer and co-creator of this. And we would say for any of those who are still at any place, if there's any part of disbelief in you at this moment, test it. And then find out for yourself, okay, so next time I'm going to ask Spirit, okay, I'm really curious about this and this. Okay, I'm just going to sit back. Let's see if it works. Well, for one, if you ask doubting, it's like saying, well, we really know you can't do it, but we're just going to see. That's part of the getting in the way. And it doesn't mean that they can't start edging in on you and say, well, she at least asked, well, let's just start with that part, and then we'll go to that, we'll see, afterwards. So it doesn't mean that doesn't actually start even allowing it, even asked in that way. But imagine if you asked the way a child asks, Santa for the gift that, their dad knows there's a tricycle already under the tree. Ask with that kind of curiosity and that kind of excitement and that kind of innocence and that kind of purity and that kind of alignment, that you believe that if spirit can create universes and give bodies and breathe bodies and the whole thing, that what else can it do? Maybe I am asking too small of a favor. So we would encourage each of you to start exploring and start, encountering spirit and just seeing, let's just see what can be done here. Where am I limiting myself? What have I not asked because I don't believe it can happen? What am I not sure of? And this we say also, this is part of that internal inventory, is see if there's anything like that still kind of cluttering the magnifying glass. How you see, how you see your own world. And if those glasses get taken off and you start seeing things in a true way, that you're deserving of all good things, you're worthy of all good things, and Spirit has been wanting to bless you beyond your capability of being, of receiving. I'm just needing to learn how to receive more. Like, that's my lesson in life. How do I just receive more of the graces that Spirit would have to give to me? And how can I start enjoying this moment? I mean, I can look around me right now and see how many blessings have been installed around me that I can appreciate just now. Looking at someone's eyes and, wow, there's another being who's exploring this planet right next to me. And they're learning and stumbling around their learning curve as well. So, even just having the eyes to see all that which is already kind of in plain view, so to say. So we've shared quite enthusiastically at this point. Are there any questions from you that you would like to ask?